I met Manny's birth mother when she was 6 months pregnant. She was very adamant that she did not want to keep the baby she was carrying at that time. I stayed by her side and made sure she knew that I would care for this child, that I would adopt him. Even after I found out about the drug abuse, her using drugs during the pregnancy, the whole term, I still never wavered on that decision. He was still going to be my son, and she was grateful for that. No matter what happened, I was going to be there for him. She gave birth to him. I wasn't around because she had blocked me out of her life due to a boyfriend that she had at the time that thought he was the father. He had threatened my life, so I stopped calling her. I just answer her texts every once in a while. When he was born, Roxanne was picked up at the hospital by her grandmother and dropped off at her home, apartment, whatever she was living in at the time, with nothing. The baby come home to nothing. Roxanne could have called me at any time to come and get the baby, but she didn't. A few months passed, and she started texting me. She had texted me here and there, but 2 weeks before I got him, she started texting me more often. And then the day before he came to me, she was texting me telling me that she wanted to bring him here, and I told her of course, and she brought him right away. It was a cold day, March 18th, when she brought him to me. He came to me in a car seat that wasn't safe for car riding, with a onesie on a very cold day. Very small, very fragile. And she told me that he looked funny and that he looked like a monkey and that she didn't. Anyway, she pulled the blanket off his car seat, and all I seen was a beautiful, beautiful little boy. I picked him up and held him and promised never to let him go. She said he was best to stay with me. She agreed that he was best to stay with me and that I would raise him properly, as I promised I would. I promised to keep up with photos. I promised to let her see him. And I've kept all of my promises. 2 or 3 times. Well, one time she came to our house around midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning, with a bunch of friends. You could tell they were all on something. So I told her to go away. She finally left, and then the next day came back with some girls. She just walked into my home. She didn't knock or anything. She walked into my home. She had shorts on so short that you could see everything. And the other 2 girls that were with her were standing at the foot of my bed, and one of them asked me if she can roll a joint. I just looked at her. I was stunned. I was amazed that somebody would even say that in front of me. I asked her to please leave my home. So the girl, I don't know who she was, walked outside and did whatever she did, and Roxanne kept walking around the house wanting to borrow money and stuff like that, and I told her I didn't have the money. We were spending a lot of money on Manny, getting everything straight for him. So she left. Sometime later, she came and broke into my vehicle, and I had to call the police at that time. I did file no trespassing order, only because of the harassment she caused me and the baby. I didn't want these type of people around my child. I never stopped her from calling. She's always had my number. If she wanted to see Manny, all she had to do was call me. I could meet her somewhere. She signed her rights over. We went to the adoption hearing for the final adoption, and my attorney had forgotten a piece of paper that was supposed to be clocked in and given to the judge. So we had to reschedule. That was my lawyer's fault. Some time passed, and I told the attorney I was having trouble in my marriage, that we were divorcing, that I wanted to remove my husband at that time from the adoption papers, that I was going to adopt as a single parent. He agreed. He was supposed to be doing the paperwork. I had my home study done. I was waiting for my papers to be filed. My home study passed for the second time, and I continued to call my attorney to please file the paperwork for the adoption. During this time, I found out that Roxanne was in jail for attempted armed robbery and some kind of assault charges, assault and battery. I'm not really sure what the charges were. I found out she was in jail. So I called her grandmother and asked her what was the address so I could write her and send her some pictures of Manny. Her grandmother didn't return my calls, but I did send pictures of Manny via text message from my phone to Carol Robb, her grandmother. I called Carol numerous times. She never returned my calls. I'm still unsure why. I finally got an address to mail Roxanne a letter and pictures of Manny. I still have the letter. It's still sealed. It says return to sender. Roxanne insists that she tried to call me to visit with Manny. I have not received one phone call from her. I don't even know when she got out of jail. I've lived in the same place for over 7 years. My phone number has been the same for a long time. I don't even know. There was no reason why she could not contact me. She chose not to be in this child's life. I didn't make that decision for her. I took him to birthday parties and such with his older sister. I never tried to keep him from his other family. I made every effort I could to keep him connected with his blood family. So last week, the cops called me and told me, thank you for taking care of. Well, initially they asked me what my relationship was to the child, and I said I'm his mother. They said, well, we have another lady here saying she's the mother. I said, I don't understand. And he told me, Miss Nunez, thank you for taking care of this child, but we have to come get him His mother's out of jail now. She had told the officers that I was only keeping him while she was in jail. This was not true. I had him months before she went to jail. And I don't even know how long she's been out. So I had him during that time while she was out also. I'm so confused at the legal system. We filed for emergency temporary custody because the police felt it was better that the child stay in my custody until DSS or somebody stepped in to take over. So my attorney the next day finally got off his behind to file an emergency custody order, temporary custody order. The judge signed it, so I had temporary custody until August 26th, when we had to go back to court. Roxanne showed with an attorney paid for by her grandfather, since she's never had a job nor ever tries to get one. And just because of this law, they took my Manny.